It's not every day that a former NFL MVP hits pause on his own spotlight to throw a warning flare into someone else's storm. But that's exactly what Cam Newton did when he spoke up about Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. And let's be real, this wasn't a hot take. It was a rescue mission. So what did Cam actually say? In short, Shedeur needs to get out of Cleveland. Run, don't walk. And if that sounds dramatic, that's because it is. But also, it's entirely justified. Because Cam didn't just criticize a bad play or a poor coaching call. He opened the curtain on an entire systemic collapse. He pointed straight at the Browns organization, coaches, culture, players, all of it, and basically said, "You're ruining this kid before he even gets a chance."
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
And let's not pretend this was out of left field. The signs have been there since day one. Shedeur Sanders walked into the NFL with more pressure than most rookies could handle. Son of Deion Primetime Sanders. Eyes of the sports world already on him. And instead of easing him into a franchise that could nurture that potential, Cleveland dropped him into a burning building and handed him a squirt gun. And when you look at what he's been up against, it's honestly kind of unbelievable that he's still standing, let alone keeping his cool like he has. From erratic play calling to a non-existent O-line to ego-driven teammates who seem more concerned with Instagram highlights than team chemistry, Shedeur has had to play quarterback, peacekeeper, and motivational speaker all at once. And now, thanks to Jeudy's ego trip, he's also being asked to manage locker room meltdowns. It all came to a head in what insiders are calling a heated confrontation between Jeudy and Shedeur. And we're not talking about some sideline squabble. This was a moment that told Cam Newton and the rest of the football world that Shedeur wasn't just dealing with rookie growing pains. He was surrounded by chaos. And the adults in the room? Nowhere to be found. That's when Cam stepped in. And what he said wasn't just protective, it was prophetic. He called out the coaching staff. He called out the toxic environment. He called out the entire franchise for putting their young quarterback in a situation that could break even a seasoned vet. And most importantly, he made it clear, the issue isn't Shedeur. It's everything around him. Let's talk about Kevin Stefanski for a second. On paper, sure, he looks like a steady hand. But in reality, this is a guy who's presiding over a team that feels more like a group project gone rogue. The play calling has been erratic. There's no rhythm, no identity, and no visible plan for Shedeur's development. It's like Stefanski is hoping Shedeur can figure it out in real time while dodging sacks, teammate tantrums, and organizational dysfunction. Spoiler alert, that's not how you develop a franchise QB. Quarterbacks, especially young ones, need stability. They need structure. They need to know that when things go sideways, someone's going to grab the wheel. Right now, it feels like Shedeur is the only one even trying to steer. And here's what's wild. He's still doing well. You can see the flashes, the poise, the reads, the footwork, the fact that he doesn't panic even when the walls are closing in. He's protecting the football, making smart throws, staying cool under pressure. You look at that, and you think this isn't just a rookie with talent. This is a leader in the making. But leadership can only go so far when no one's following. That's the tragedy here. The Browns have a chance, a real chance, to build something. To create the kind of foundation every franchise dreams of, a young, talented, composed quarterback who actually wants to lead. But instead of building around him, they're burying him. And Jeudy? He's just the latest symptom of the disease. Because when a veteran player feels bold enough to openly challenge the rookie QB, that tells you everything you need to know about the locker room. No respect, no unity, just unchecked ego and zero accountability. That doesn't happen in healthy organizations. That doesn't happen in places where the culture is tight. And where was the coaching staff during all this? Silent, invisible, either unaware or uninterested. And both options are terrifying. So when Cam Newton says Shedeur should leave, it's not because he doubts Shedeur's talent. It's because he believes in it. And he knows, better than most, that even the brightest young star can be snuffed out if they're trapped in the wrong environment. Let's not forget, Cam was that guy once. He knows the pressure, the expectations, the loneliness of being the face of a franchise that's too dysfunctional to carry their part of the load. So when he looks at Shedeur, he sees a warning sign. And he's trying to make sure that what happened to him doesn't happen to the next one. Because here's the reality no one in Cleveland seems willing to admit. If they don't change, Shedeur will leave. Maybe not this season. Maybe not next. But at some point, he's going to look around and realize that his talent deserves better. His future demands more. And some other team, more stable, more strategic, more grown-up, is going to come knocking with a plan, a vision, and a paycheck. And the Browns? They'll be right back where they always are. In the draft room. Scrambling. Hoping. Rebuilding. Again. The worst part? It doesn't have to be this way. Shedeur isn't asking for a Super Bowl roster overnight. He just needs a real system. A coach who doesn't blink when things get messy. Teammates who care about winning, not headlines. A locker room with standards. Is that so much to ask? Because the clock is ticking. And Shedeur's development window isn't infinite. Every bad snap, every toxic moment, every avoidable loss chips away at the foundation. And once the trust is gone, it's gone. You think he's going to sit around for 5 years waiting for the Browns to figure it out? Not a chance. And honestly, he shouldn't. This league moves fast. You either support your guy or you lose him. There's no in-between. And right now, Cleveland is fumbling a golden opportunity with both hands. Cam Newton saw it, and he called it out loud and clear. So the question isn't whether Shedeur can make it work in Cleveland. The question is, why should he have to? Let us know what you think. Is Cam Newton overreacting? Or did he just say what everyone's been too scared to admit? Is this the Browns being the Browns? Or is there still time to flip the script? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Because if you think this saga ends here, oh no. This is Cleveland. The chaos is just getting started. Because here's the thing about chaos. It never announces its arrival. It just shows up quietly at first. A missed assignment. A sideline glare. A coaching decision that doesn't quite make sense. And before you know it, you're knee-deep in a full-blown identity crisis. And right now, the Cleveland Browns are drowning in it. But instead of throwing out a life raft, they're just standing there, watching, shrugging, acting like the ship isn't actively sinking with their most valuable player on board. That's why Cam Newton's words hit so hard. Because he didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't go on some polished media rant filled with empty platitudes. He told the truth, raw and loud. He said what Shedeur Sanders probably wants to say, but can't. Not yet. Because Shedeur's playing the long game. He's keeping it professional. He's handling himself like someone who knows the cameras are always on, especially when your last name is Sanders. He's navigating chaos like he was born for it, which, let's be honest, he kind of was. But just because he's capable of handling the dysfunction doesn't mean he should have to. Think about the quarterbacks who got to grow up in real systems. Patrick Mahomes landed in Andy Reid's lap. Joe Burrow? He's had stability and support since day one in Cincinnati. Even Justin Herbert, despite the Chargers' inconsistencies, didn't have to deal with this. Not jealous teammates trying to big-time him on camera. Not a coaching staff that ghosts accountability. Not locker room tension, so thick you could cut it with a mic'd-up clip. What Shedeur is dealing with, that's career-threatening chaos. And Cam knows it, because Cam lived it. People forget this, but Cam Newton didn't just win MVP. He dragged the Panthers to a Super Bowl without elite receivers, with a shaky offensive line, and a franchise that didn't always know how to support a personality as big and brilliant as his. He was electric. He was dominant. And he was let down by poor infrastructure. So when Cam watches Shedeur in Cleveland, it's like looking into a mirror. Same talent, same pressure, same early warning signs. Except this time, he's not staying quiet. He's saying what everyone needs to hear. You can't keep doing this to your quarterbacks and expect them to stay. And that's what the Browns haven't seemed to grasp. This isn't 2007. The league has changed. Quarterbacks don't just sit back and take the punishment anymore. They have platforms. They have options. They have leverage. And Shedeur, with his generational poise and media savvy, he's going to use all of it. Because trust, there are already conversations happening behind closed doors. Coaches, coordinators, front office execs across the league watching this mess unfold in Cleveland and whispering, if he becomes available, we're in. Teams with vision. Teams with real infrastructure. Teams that know what it means to develop a quarterback rather than just throwing him to the wolves and crossing their fingers. And if that happens, if Shedeur really decides to dip the moment his rookie contract allows, that's the end of the Browns as we know them. It's not just about losing another QB. It's about losing the guy. The one who could have been different. The one who had all the tools. The one who showed up with more polish and discipline in year one than some veterans show in year 5. The one who came in with the weight of a legacy and still managed to carve his own path. You lose that guy? You're not rebuilding. You're starting over from below rock bottom. And let's talk about Jeudy for a second, because this whole meltdown really starts with him. Cam pointed it out for a reason. See, it's not just that Jeudy got into it with Shedeur. It's that he felt comfortable doing it. In front of everyone. With no hesitation. And that says more about the culture in that locker room than it does about either player. That tells you there's no hierarchy. No clear leadership. No respect for the quarterback. And no fear of consequences for stepping out of line. And for anyone who's ever been on a team, football, corporate, you name it, you know that when someone challenges the leader without repercussions, that's when everything falls apart. And now, all eyes are on Shedeur. How will he respond? The answer? Probably better than anyone else in that building. Because that's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't clap back. He doesn't lose control. He's been raised in high-pressure environments his entire life. He's been under cameras, under scrutiny, under expectations since high school. This is just another day for him. But just because he's calm doesn't mean he's not taking notes. He saw how the coaching staff reacted, or didn't. He saw who stood up for him and who stayed quiet. He saw who rolled their eyes and who showed support. And he's not going to forget it. That's what makes Cam's message so powerful. He's not just warning Shedeur to leave. He's warning the Browns to wake up. Because this is their last chance. Not to keep a player, but to prove they deserve one. If they want to keep Shedeur Sanders, they need to act like it. Fix the locker room. Instill accountability. Support their quarterback publicly and privately. Stop relying on his maturity to cover their dysfunction. Start building the kind of franchise a quarterback wants to lead, not one he's forced to survive. Because Shedeur's not going to beg. He's not going to rant. He's not going to air the dirty laundry in post-game pressers. He's going to keep showing up. Keep grinding. Keep leading. Until one day he won't. And on that day, the Browns will realize the weight of what they lost. They'll look around the empty facility, the barren QB room, the exhausted fan base, and they'll know. Cam Newton tried to warn us. He threw the flare. He rang the alarm. He told the truth. And the Browns? They ignored it. Like they always do. So now it's up to them. This is their moment. Their decision. Their chance to finally break the cycle. Will they fix the culture, support their quarterback, and actually build something worth sticking around for? Or will they lose Shedeur Sanders the same way they've lost every other spark of promise they've ever had? We're watching. We're waiting. We're bracing for impact. Because in Cleveland, the collapse isn't a question of if. It's a matter of how loud the crash will be. And if they're not careful, this one's going to be deafening. Be sure to comment your thoughts below. Are you Team Cam on this? Do you think Shedeur deserves better? And more importantly, do you think Cleveland can change? Or are we already watching the next great what could have been unfold? Don't forget to subscribe. Because with drama like this, trust, this is only the first quarter. Because the real tragedy here, the part that makes your stomach drop like a missed field goal in overtime, is that Cleveland has been here before. So many times. They know this feeling. The promise, the hype, The "this time will be different" energy, followed by the slow, agonizing unraveling of yet another quarterback's potential. Remember Baker Mayfield? Drafted first overall. Swagger. Fire. He brought energy to a city that hadn't had a winning season in over a decade. For a moment, it felt like Cleveland had finally turned a corner. And then, dysfunction. Coaching turnover. Internal drama. And suddenly the franchise quarterback was on a plane out of town, while the Browns were back in the hunt for their next savior. It's a cycle. And Shedeur Sanders? He's the next name on the list, unless something changes fast. But here's the cruel twist. He's better than the guys who came before him. Mentally sharper than Manziel. More poised under pressure than Baker. Less erratic than Deshaun. Shedeur has that rare combo of talent and temperament. The kind of balance that makes you lean in and go, wait, this guy's different. So when Cam Newton goes on a public platform and says Shedeur should leave, it's not a petty swipe at Cleveland. It's a full-blown intervention. It's Cam looking at a quarterback who's doing everything right, studying tape, avoiding controversy, showing up early, leaving late, and realizing the system is failing him anyway. That's the most brutal part. This isn't a diva QB demanding trade rumors because his coffee was cold. This is a calm, focused, team-first leader doing all the right things, while the franchise around him swirls like a tornado of bad decisions, unchecked egos, and mid-tier chaos disguised as grit. Let's go back to Jeudy for a second, because this whole explosion didn't come from nowhere. He's not the villain here. He's just the symptom. A talented player who's frustrated, inconsistent, and clearly not meshing with the program. Whether it's a personal thing, an attitude thing, or just good old-fashioned ego. His clash with Shedeur wasn't just two players butting heads. It was a red flag waving at full mast. Because when you see a wide receiver known for his temper go after a rookie QB, a quarterback who's done nothing but keep his head down and lead, you know something's broken internally. And when the coaching staff stands back and lets it fester, that's not just bad leadership. That's organizational negligence. You ever work at a job where management sees everything going wrong but says nothing? That's the Browns right now. Watching fights break out in the kitchen and saying, well, maybe next quarter we'll reassess. It's a clown show, and Cam Newton is sitting in the front row, popcorn in hand, yelling, get this man out of there before it's too late. Because if this keeps going, the outcome is obvious. Shedeur's development will stall. Not because he isn't good enough, but because the team around him is actively holding him back. You can't make magic with a playbook that reads like a Waffle House menu and a locker room that feels more like the Real Housewives of Cleveland. Cam's comments aren't dramatic, they're necessary. And honestly, more veterans should be doing this. Using their platforms to call out bad culture when they see it. Because this league eats its young, especially when the adults in the room refuse to step in. You can hear the desperation in Cam's voice because he knows. He's seen this story play out. The guy with the talent, the charisma, the football IQ, wasting years of his career trying to carry a franchise that won't carry him back. And for what? Another "we're rebuilding" season? Another coaching change? Another wide receiver tantrum? Another Sunday where Shedeur's running for his life while fans scream about rookie mistakes that were actually coaching errors in disguise? No thanks. Cam is telling Shedeur to protect himself. Not just physically, but professionally, emotionally, legacy-wise. Because if he stays in Cleveland long enough, this franchise will do what it always does. Turn potential into regret. But here's the haunting part. Shedeur wants to succeed in Cleveland. You can tell. He's not mailing it in. He's not asking for trades. He's trying to lead, trying to build trust, trying to be the grown-up in a room full of players who still think team success is optional. But how long can one guy hold it together when no one's holding it down with him? That's what Cam is afraid of. That the weight of carrying a broken system is going to wear Shedeur down until he's just another what-if story. Another YouTube highlight reel set to sad piano music titled "The Rise and Fall of a Franchise QB." No one wants that. Not for a guy this talented, this focused, this ready. Because let's not get it twisted. Shedeur Sanders is ready. Mentally, technically, emotionally. He just needs the right ecosystem. And right now, Cleveland is more petri dish than playbook. You know where he'd thrive? Literally anywhere with structure, with support, with a vision. Give him a Sean McVay, a Mike McDaniel, an Andy Reid. Pair him with a coordinator who doesn't need a whiteboard timeout every third down. Surround him with teammates who want to win, not one-up each other. And watch what happens. We're talking about a future Pro Bowler, a playoff contender, a guy who could own primetime. But if he stays in Cleveland with this current setup, he'll be lucky to survive the next 2 seasons with his confidence intact. And once that goes, the talent isn't far behind. So yeah, Cam Newton said Shedeur should leave. And it sounded wild at first, bold, controversial. But now, it just sounds right. Because when someone's in a burning building, you don't tell them to stay calm. You tell them to run. And the Browns? They've been on fire for years, smiling through the smoke, pretending like everything's under control while the quarterback room goes up in flames. It's exhausting. It's predictable. It's so painfully Cleveland. And unless this team pulls the biggest 180 of the decade, starting now, not next offseason, Shedeur's exit won't be a scandal. It'll be a necessity. So Browns fans, front office, coaching staff, this is your final 2-minute warning. Either build around your quarterback, protect him, back him up, and treat him like the cornerstone he is, or get ready to watch him walk right into the arms of a smarter franchise with a working brain and a winning culture. And when that day comes, don't blame Shedeur. Blame yourselves. Because Cam Newton already told you, loud and clear, the clock is ticking. And Shedeur Sanders? He's not here to waste time. Now let us know what you think. Was Cam out of pocket, or is he just the only one brave enough to call it how it is? Is Shedeur better off finding a new home, or can Cleveland finally pull off the unthinkable and fix this mess? Sound off in the comments. Subscribe if you want to keep riding this drama roller coaster. And stay tuned, because with the Browns, there's always another meltdown coming.